if you think the market is going to continue to move higher or take another leg up, you need the semis to perform, don't you?
Well, probably. But I would say that the big reason that the semis, more than other groups, would want to move right now, today, is not just about what Micron said, but what Treasury Secretary Mnuchin suggested, which is that perhaps there's a trade deal that's coming. And these semis have been really hurt by just the assumption that business is going to dry up or get a lot more expensive if you're going to pay that tariff on every single thing they ship. So a combination of a group that is way down from its highs and something that's positive on the trade front, which has been the biggest negative overhang to the market. And that's what's going to move this group more than just about any group right now.
All right. Mr. Weiss. Micron upgraded today to buy at Needham, target $50. Western Dig upgraded at Craig-Hallum Capital to buy, target $54. You're shorting Micron.
Actually, I got stopped out already. Lost a little bit of money.
You were trying to short Micron.
I did short.
You did short Micron.
And then
Are you a naysayer on these gains?
Well,
Are they way ahead of themselves?
I think it's overdone.
Asked?
Look, first of all, Micron's CEO has never been able to predict the future as far as guidance. And they're basically saying the same thing they've said. Yet you've had an inventory build from 130 days to 150 days. That's not good. I also believe you've had some stuffing of the channel, not in a nefarious way, but by the buyers in China buying in advance.
Because of trade.
Right, and we've seen that. I mean, that was actually said. OEMs have been buying in advance. So we don't know what real demand will be there and what additional inventories will be there. No Micron's inventories. We don't know inventories at the inside. What they're saying about a second-half recovery in pricing is nothing new. So, look, I don't think Micron should recover to its old highs. Let's not forget about all the analysts that came out there and said, I got a $100 price target. They're each jumping over themselves every day. I got a $110 price target. This was going to the moon. So, look, I still own Skyworks. I sold most of my SMH, so I still have a little left, just because I think it's a little overdone for now. And that's just too much beta in the portfolio coming in front of Trump and G20.
Understand, but if Doc, a lot of the negativity around this space is built around trade. If you get some positive headlines, to Steve's point, coming out of the G20 this weekend, why wouldn't these stocks continue to work?
Yeah, and they will, if indeed that's what we
I agree with that. I'm not saying anything different.
Right.
I agree with that.
I think one of the key phrases in here, Scott.
Just stop me for a second.
Go ahead.
My point, though, Weiss, is if you're getting out of part or all of your SMH, why do you want to be so negative in that space ahead of what could be a positive development this weekend?
I'm not negative in the space. I put SMH on as a trade, and it was a good trade. So I took my money off the table. I still own Skyworks. I actually bought a little more Skyworks over the last week. So that's where I'm playing, because I like the, I like the platform going forward to the next gen, right? So that's why I'm there. I'm not short. I was shorting Micron for a trade today, hoping people would come to their senses and saying the quarter wasn't that good and the short covering would subside by about 10:30. It didn't, so I covered.
Okay, I got you. Doc, forgive me for interrupting.
No,
that's
okay.
Everybody was on the same page.
So at least 12 different firms either reiterated or went to higher ratings today on Micron. And they did it because of, I think, a key word in here. I'm not trying to parse it like we do Fed statement, but in their statement, they said if Huawei continues, if this blacklisting of Huawei and so forth continues, that's going to have a negative impact on full year 2020 and so forth. Everybody saw that, and yet nobody cared. In other words, Mnuchin, I agree with Kari, Mnuchin carries this much better than that if does on the negative side. So I think what you're talking about here is a lot of firms looked at what Micron said. To Pete's point, margins, I thought they were actually good, though, Pete, because they were up 1.5% year over year. That's great. They're at 29%, I think, give or take right now. The build that Steve cites, that is concerning, but they were able to get a higher margin, and they just held on to inventory rather than flooding the market with it, which is, I think, a smart thing to do.
Well, they also had lower capex, but I think the question comes down to: do you go in, do you assume the risk in a Micron on your belief that you get a favorable resolution on trade, or do you stick with just basically the overall SMH SMH ETF rather, and I think that's the better play. I don't know if you want the risk assumption specifically in a Micron.
Well, what Joe just said is really important, because if what we're saying is this group moves because the market moves, there are many other places to go in the market without the risk of whether you really get the trade resolution that you need for the chips to really
I'm
work.
suggesting maybe this group moves the market more than the market moves this group. Semis, could lead to the downside or lead to the upside, based on where you think perhaps the economy is going.
Because I think the Huawei issue is separate from the trade issue. So just because you get an agreement on trade doesn't mean you're going to get a security issue settlement on Huawei. I mean, they've made that pretty clear that they're separate and distinct. But if you take a look at the Needham analyst estimates, right, he's got it going to $6 or over $6 in 19, right, this year, and then goes out to 20, and he cut his estimates from 530 to 330. This should not sell at 10 times except in a trough.